Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into a wild story that's been making the rounds, one that paints a picture of our world teetering on the absolute brink. We're going to break down its claims about a president being captured, nuclear standoffs, and what's said to be a secret plan for global dominance. Let's get into it.
So the whole thing kicks off with this incredibly dramatic headline, right? It just immediately sets the stage for a massive global crisis. And the central claim, the big idea here, is that World War III isn't just some far-off possibility, it's a warning that, according to this narrative, has already been delivered.
Okay, so the whole story really hinges on this first explosive event. The source claims a world leader was captured in a pretty stunning nighttime raid. We're talking about an operation that supposedly caught an entire country completely by surprise.
The source really paints a vivid picture here. It describes this swift, almost surgical strike. An elite Delta Force team allegedly flies into the capital, neutralizes President Maduro's security detail, and has him in custody in less than 15 minutes. It's portrayed as this flawlessly planned operation from A to Z. And then, just like that, the scene completely shifts. We go from a military raid in Venezuela to a legal battle in a U.S. courtroom. According to the source, Maduro showed up with this kind of arrogant attitude, which supposedly led to a pretty sharp warning from the judge.
And this is where the source really tries to show how divided the reaction was inside Venezuela. On one side, you had protests erupting against his removal. But on the other, the video apparently shows interviews with people on the street just filled with joy, talking about a new sense of hope.
All right, so from that one event in Venezuela, the story starts to zoom out big time. The claim is that the operation wasn't a one-off thing. It was just the beginning, with the focus quickly expanding to the rest of the hemisphere. And get this, the source then claims a direct threat was made against the leader of neighboring Colombia. It even attributes a quote to President Trump, who supposedly said a U.S. military operation there sounds good to me.
So what's the response? Well, the source highlights this incredibly defiant challenge back to the United States. And you know what's really interesting? The video points out that this is almost the exact same kind of defiant language Maduro himself allegedly used right before he was captured.
And the list just keeps on growing. The source claims Cuba is on the verge of collapse now without Venezuelan oil. And then there's Mexico, which was supposedly warned to get its cartels under control, or the U.S. would have to step in.
Okay, so now the story explodes onto the world stage. The source portrays a planet reacting with, shock and a lot of anger. These actions in the Americas are allegedly sparking real fears of a much, much bigger conflict.
It's pretty fascinating how the source breaks down the global reaction. You've got one camp, with nations like China and Russia, that's issuing these really strong, direct condemnations. And then you've got another camp, with allies like the EU, that are expressing deep concern, calling the whole thing a really dangerous precedent.
And then you have this, a supposed warning from North Korea's leader, and it's presented as this really personal, direct threat. The source claims he called Maduro his friend and warned of serious international consequences if he wasn't let go.
Now, this is a crucial point in the story, right? The source makes a really big deal about Russia's response, vowing to defend its interests in Venezuela, and the way it's framed is key. The video suggests this isn't just some regional issue anymore. It's a potential standoff between two nuclear superpowers, right on America's doorstep.
All right, so just when you think you've got a handle on the story, it takes another wild turn, this time pivoting to a totally separate crisis that supposedly threatens to break the entire NATO alliance apart from the inside.
This brings up a really fascinating question, one that gets to the heart of this supposed crisis. So, the U.S. allegedly wants to acquire Greenland for its strategic location, but, well, Greenland belongs to Denmark, which is also a member of NATO. See the problem?
So to really get what's supposedly going on here, you have to remember NATO's founding principle. An attack on one is an attack on all. It's the whole point. But the source points out this massive, critical loophole. The charter was designed to deal with threats from the outside, not conflicts between members.
And the warning that supposedly came back from Denmark was absolutely stark. The video presents this as a warning that an action like this wouldn't just end NATO, it could unravel the entire global security system that's been in place since the end of World War II. Just wow.
Okay, so after all of that, you've got to be asking, why? What is the motive behind all of this? Well, this final section of the narrative claims these actions aren't random at all. They're part of a much bigger, very calculated strategic plan.
30 to 50 million barrels, that's the number.
The source claims this is the amount of Venezuelan oil that would be handed over to the United States. And look, Venezuela has one of the largest oil reserves in the world. Getting control of that would have absolutely massive global implications.
And according to the source, the plan for all that oil money was laid out directly in a social media post from Trump himself. He allegedly claimed the money would be controlled by him and used to help the people of both nations.
This whole strategy apparently has a name, the Donro Doctrine. It's pitched as a modern twist on the old Monroe Doctrine, all about reasserting American dominance and stopping hostile foreign powers from getting a foothold in the Western Hemisphere.
So in the end, this is how the source pulls all the different threads together into one big strategic vision. The claim is this isn't just about one country. It's about completely reshaping the geopolitical chessboard of the entire region, all to secure American interests and push back against its global rivals.
And that leaves us right back where we started, with this huge question that the whole narrative builds toward. Are these actions, as they're presented here, a necessary move for justice and security? Or are they a reckless gamble that could actually light the spark for a global war? Based on the story we've just broken down, that's for you to decide.